discipline in our society. Some say we are where we are today because of the level of indiscipline in our society. And trust me, I am not alone. We have guests in the studio to talk about this issue together. And let's start with, no, please ladies. We have three ladies here, so let's start with the man.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I was thinking always to tell the ladies. No, okay, now you've done that thing I always do. I always say ladies before, ladies after men. Okay, my name is Chukuma Ohaka. I'm a business coach and I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I'm Titilayo, and it's a pleasure to be here again.
And I'm Zainab Sadiq. As usual, nice to be here.
All right.
And Obon Robin.
All right. We'll continue with this conversation just after this break.
Why are Nigerians always in a hurry? That's a billion-naira question, right? Unfortunately, the answer is never clear. But one thing, though, is the fact that this has led to unquantifiable volume of indiscipline in our society, indiscipline in our families, indiscipline in our workplaces, indiscipline in the market or shopping places. And the worst of it is the indiscipline on our roads. Watch this. Very unscrupulous. Sometimes indiscipline is done with so much impunity. See this.
Respect law. Can't do. You can't respect law. You can't respect law. Who are you? Look at what you are doing. Take it straight. Take it straight. What are you doing? It's not to reverse and go back. It's not to reverse. Go back.
What a shame. What would it have taken for that driver to do the right thing? With the advent of technology, particularly the mobile communication gadgets, indiscipline has taken a new dimension. People now concentrate on their phones during meetings and even social gatherings. This is not just indiscipline, but a gross display of social rudeness. It is alien to us, and we must nip it right at the bud.
All right, welcome back. If you just joined us, this is Conversations, and we are going to be looking at discipline in our society. Like I did say earlier, we are where we are today because of the level of indiscipline in our society. And I remember in 1984, where we had the military...
83.
Was it 83?
December 31st, 1983 to 27th of August, 1985.
Great. We
remember
had
that
war
time.
against indiscipline.
Why?
My
Now-
body felt it. We knew.
Was it that bad? Is it that bad that that had to be introduced at that point in time?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Well, I was 7 years old then, so I don't know, but I knew enough to remember what happened during that period of December 83. You're talking about war against indiscipline, right?
Indiscipline, yeah.
So I'm sure things must have been bad for them to come up with that. But I'm sure nowhere as bad as what we have on ground now, you know. But yes, measures were put in place then. I remember when they said war against indiscipline. I was just learning the English language then, and I was so frightened. I was telling my father, there's going to be a war. They are going to be killing people. I had not even finished recovering from the fact that military was ruling us now, the people with the guns and the bullets. And so we got an explanation, and there are so many jingles on TV and everything. But that was a time I heard in one documentary that when the military junta said they are going to deal ruthlessly with indiscipline, they meant it. Nigerians knew a fear that they had never felt before. There was war against indiscipline.
Indiscipline.
And things must have been bad for them to take that. I remember then as a 7-year-old child, I knew to not throw a trash, a piece of chewing gum wrapper on the street in the Sahara Desert. They had put that fear in us then. So I cannot comment on what led to that. But I can stand here and say we really, really, really need that to come back, because we are an indisciplined lot. There's a lot of painful indiscipline going on in this society, enough to make you want to throw up.
And sometimes you actually wonder as an individual, where did we get it wrong that we are experiencing this level of indiscipline in the society? Because you see people beating the traffic at will just because they know that nothing will happen.
Yeah, lack of consequence. Sorry if I just, jump in. Lack of consequence, lack of strict, hard consequence. In those days, we were conforming because there were consequences. There's consequence to people going to work late. Military governors of those days were known to go to work and sit down and wait and see who comes to work late. And you get your working papers on the spot. People have been known to be dragged out of their cars and pick up trash and frog jump and be beaten with whips. It might be too harsh, but what brought us to this level now is there's absolutely no consequence for any wrong behavior. From the home, from the schools, from the working institutions, on the street, as you say. He was telling us something that happened with his driver. And the first thing he said, I supported his stand. He said it off camera.
Maybe he needs to share that story
I
with
think
us
he
again,
should.
Chukuma.
Well, my story, but before I get to my story, one of the key things I always say that has brought us to where we are, much as it may sound that as bad, is that we don't have, in her word, proper consequence where people fail to get punished for their act. And I call it in my own term, judicial failure.
Okay.
Humorously, I told my friend who is a lawyer, and I said, that sign of whatever thing that has eyes closed with knife, that I think in Nigeria, one of the eyes
Should be open.
it's open. Because there are some people, when they come, no, is it you? Pass. Is it you? Kill. You understand? Because when you have a judicial system that recognizes individuals, now every organ has organ, then every organ has somebody watching that organ. Now, what am I saying? Bringing me to my story. My driver called me one day. He jumped the traffic, and he was held by a policeman. The normal thing is call organ knows organ. And unfortunately for him, he called me. I picked the phone and said, let me speak with the policeman. So he fell, said, hi, Oga wants to talk to you. Take. I introduced myself to the Oga and the policeman. I said, detain him. He said, what do you say? I said, detain him. He flaunted the law. I said, when you detain him, next time he wouldn't beat the traffic and he wouldn't have to call me when I'm doing something important. Because I don't know if he was calling me to start applauding him for doing the wrong thing. And from that time till now, he hasn't jumped the traffic. He remembers that whenever it is his time, he'll behave himself. Now, assuming that day I called and picked and started talking to the policeman, please, don't you know he's my driver? The policeman, knowing our system, will be afraid. Except for a few who will stand their ground and say, I'll prosecute this guy. We'll say, okay, because Oga has said. You understand? But the unfortunate thing is that in most cases too, you see that the person that had cornered him didn't corner him because he has failed. He wants to punish him. He may have cornered him because he wants to get something for himself. So you see, like I always speak to them, I say, you don't correct the wrong with wrong. Now, because people know that they can pay their way out of every trouble, and what they used to pay out of the trouble is minimal to compare with what they have done. They do everything. Everything here has a price. Corner me, I give you something, and I go.
But Chukuma, if you look at it, when you said it's a failure of our judicial system, but here you've not gotten to the low side. It's basically at the where the crime was committed, where you have the police, probably the VIO, you have the traffic attendants and all of that. This is where the crime was committed. So if these people are let go from there, how does it get to the...
Okay, let me explain what I mean. when there is a proper judicial system that does not recognize anybody, the man that it's caught knows that I have committed this crime, and this is what the law says concerning whoever committed this crime. The man that is prosecuting him knows that if I don't do what the law has said I should do over this man, I would have committed another crime and I'll be facing these consequences.
Yeah.
He would learn to do things right. But when you know that, bad as he be, if I corner this man, he might call one Oga, and because the Oga knows my Oga, so the man on the road thinks like the best thing for me is, instead of trying to prosecute this man, that may be one son of a big man, that will call one other big man and I'll be the one that will lose. He will corner the man and say, give me something.
I mean, basically, speaking of this indiscipline, I'm just going to give an example of what happened during the lockdown in Nigeria. I know the COVID pandemic hit the whole world generally, and everybody went on lockdown and blah, blah, blah. Until Nigeria decided to do its own lockdown and decided to give work permits to some Nigerians that deserved it.
Yeah.
And in 24 hours, the same permit was on Twitter for sale for 50,000 naira.
Wow.
Consequences for action. You know, so Nigeria, we don't have our judiciary system does not really encourage people to abide by the law, stick to it. Like, there is no consequence, you can get away with it. How can the government permit you to go to maybe essential worker, health, whatever, and then you're selling it for 50,000 naira? And up until before the lockdown was extended till 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. I be the curfew. During the lockdown, I would have friends who, because they have the pass, actually go out to drink when the bars were locked. They would go out to drink, and I'm like, why are you out? Oh, I have a pass. But drinking is not essential. Oh, I know the owner of the bar, they opened for us. So people were literally still doing everything that the whole world said don't do. Let's not limit it to Nigeria. This thing affected everybody. People died. So it's more like
People
you don't even care.
Yeah.
You don't even care about the next person who may die from your, misbehavior. But then you think it is the best time to drink. So Nigerians, and the funny part is, most Nigerians that are careless and lawless in this country, when they go out abroad, they tend to be the most behaved people.
Because there's consequences.
So the question is, that means you know. So do you really need the law to tell you not to do these things?
Yes.
It's like beating traffic lights, simply because you know that there is no camera here in this country and nobody will give you a ticket, which I think, by the way, the government should actually look into it. You beat the traffic light. I do not really understand. So I feel like, for me, I don't know who we should be attacking: the individual, our upbringing, the government, the legal system. I don't know who we should be addressing our grievances.
Let's blame ourselves.
Yeah, there's a root. There's a root. It has a root somewhere.
Bring it to the family system.
Yes, exactly. That is the root. You know, you are saying that we are saying, there's no consequence. Some people, they've gone drinking. But you didn't do that.
Nope.
Why didn't you? Because you are grounded. There is a part of you that is too disciplined to do that. Maybe you show your indiscipline in another, but unless we learn, unless we learn to raise our children, and if to say we have been raised up to know that when you're a disciplined person, you are not really doing it for just the good of the society. The first beneficiary is yourself. Because more than anything, you should crave to be a person who is known to have integrity, to have self-dignity, to have self-respect. And the number one way of achieving that is if you're known to be a disciplined and principled person. But so many people do not even know that these two are related. And then a lot of other people do not even know the value of being known as somebody with integrity. But unless we start putting these cultures into the upcoming, people should stop doing things because they're afraid of consequences. People should start doing things because they need to be done,
And we should
And
stop making it. We should
okay.
stop making it seem like, oh, that's the way it is, so it's acceptable. I mean, I'll just say one thing. You mentioned the fact that it has a root, which is it's just the truth. And when it gets to the hilt, when it gets to the height of it, that's where you have to use law enforcement. But what if the law is corrupt? What if the individuals who make up the legal system are not also disciplined? What
That's
do
why
you
the
do?
root, it has to be from
So
the
we
root.
need to know the gravity of indiscipline to start with.
Okay.
We need to know that.
Yeah, quickly. We talk about being principled in the society, but this is the same society whereby if you are principled, meaning you're doing the right thing at the right time, people tend to, consider that as being wicked.
It depends on what you're calling. There's being principled and there's integrity. I have seen so many people that will attempt to try to do something wrong with somebody who is known to be principled, and those nearby will be like, don't try with this man. No, you cannot. This
Don't
man,
do
he's
that.
too good. He cannot. If you are truly principled and
have integrity, people will recognize and identify you.
So the two must go together.
The two must go. And are you doing it for the right reasons? And are you 100% principled? Because there are some people that are principled in selected areas.
Situations,
Then
yes.
you do not expect to get respect. You cannot be respected if you are just partially principled. It has to be the whole way. Like we said earlier in another program, I'll still go back to that, whether we want it or not, unless you are spiritually healthy, you cannot achieve anything. A pet peeve, a pet complaint of mine, we are talking about traffic rules. Forget those jumping the traffic. Whenever anybody does that, I pray that a trailer is coming the other way. I always, believe me, you know me, I can be wicked. Let the person know. Let the person feel. Let their car be smashed. Tomorrow they will not do it. Do you understand? Let them break a leg or two. It doesn't matter. Let them feel it. The ones that irritate me the most are when you're on a single lane and they start opening out. And then they create. Do you do that?
For
It's
you.
annoying.
Oh, okay. Like me, I'm not in a hurry. Then they'll go to the other end, and then they'll start trying to shunt, and they've blocked the oncoming traffic.
I will never allow
Me
you
too,
to
I
come in.
don't give, and they'll be
I
doing
will
me
not allow you
waka,
come in.
and I still, I'm okay.
I will
Let's
not allow you
smash our
come in.
cars.
I will not allow you come in.
But a lot of people, some of them will beg you, madam, sorry. Me too, I'm in a hurry. But there are some people that enable them. There's my cousin that was in the car, and I was like, you're too wicked. Allow him now. I'm like, no.
It's wrong.
I will not allow him. That's something, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with people going to work late. I have people, so you see, almost everybody in the society is guilty of one form of indiscipline or the other. I know people that will say, so there's nothing to do at work now. We'll just go and sit down and be reading newspaper. It doesn't matter. Your contract says 9 to 5 or 8
there.
to 4. Do
Be
it.
there.
Just be there, because if they remove 5 naira from your salary
For every time
will
you
help me.
run late.
everything will go up in flames. So why will you not keep your part of the bargain? Like this, going to work late and everything. In our scriptures in the Quran, there's where God said, woe to those who give short measure, who will not do what is expected of them, but they will expect to be given their full pay and benefit. And it applies to those. So even those so-called principled people, they actually do that. You go to work even at the 8 o'clock, then by 11:30 you go shopping or salon or market or banking or whatever, and then you come back and continue work. You have taken out of your official working time, and that is all a form of indiscipline. Children do wrong, school, they'll call the parents, they'll shout. Parents will be like, okay, this school, their wahala is too much, I beg, to you, don't do it again. But in front of these children, they'll keep saying, sure, you see what you dragged. They'll just come and be insulting. Nobody actually addresses that child that you did wrong. They're busy complaining that, see what you caused on me.
Well, the reality is when I was growing up, I remember when I did something, I was actually in the wrong. So they had to call my parents, and I knew exactly what I felt then. I know what I felt then, because the fact that your parents are coming to attend to your issue at school.
That was then, no?
That was then. It
This time around,
it was as if I should open the flow so that I can just bury myself. It was that terrible. But because of the fact that I know I have broken like a law that I shouldn't like temper with in the first place. But these days, you see a parent goes to school, And so, if my son did this or my daughter did this, so what? Even
That's
the
what
school,
I'm saying. That's what I'm
even
saying.
the school environment.
I'm afraid of it's the system failure that we're talking about. Now, you are a parent and your child does something wrong, and you go to the school and you're shouting at the teacher. My brother, for
Some
what?
parents beat teachers up.
For
Yeah.
Really?
For
their
disciplining their
yes.
children.
I was a teacher in a
Yeah.
school where a parent came and was threatening to kill a teacher
Some parents
for
do that.
beating their child who fought with another student. We had to hide the teacher. And what annoyed me was after the parent left, the principal of the school attempted to
dismiss the teacher.
dismiss the
It's
teacher.
a private school.
It was a private school.
that's
I
why-
was so disgusted that I put it in my mind, if they dismissed that teacher, I was going to leave. But then other staff knelt down and were begging the principal. I was beyond shocked. It's a very well-known chain of schools in this Abuja.
You know the truth. You know the problem.
I was
the problem-
disgusted
the
and I
problem
lost
is this.
respect for
That's
that.
that's where you look at the teacher may have done the right thing, and because of the need to provide for his family, he could take every rubbish from the principal, because the principal also is trying to protect, because the school fee may be something so high, so the principal may be trying to protect a client in this case. But the right thing to do, if I were the guy, I don't know, everybody's not like me. If I had done the right thing and the principal would do that kind of thing to me, I would leave.
No, you know, the principal was ordered by the coordinator of the school. We all attended the meeting to let go of that teacher. But do you know what fascinated me at that case? Two girls fought and they were both beaten by the teacher. The parent of one girl was the one who came to attempt to kill the teacher. The parent of the other girl came to school shouting that why did they beat her daughter till she entered coma? Is she a hooligan fighting? They should have beaten her more than they did.
Wow.
The same
Upbringing.
case. The same case.
Like
The
my
same
son-
case.
My son would rather allow the teacher flog him
Than you know
than
about
me
the
knowing that he
situation.
had done something wrong in school.
Wow.
It's upbringing.
He would come back and tell the mom. My wife would just say, your daddy will know. And then he will bribe with every bribeable. Mommy, please, give me this, I will do. Please, don't let daddy know. Because why would you go to school and misbehave? I wasn't brought up that way, so I wouldn't allow my children to be brought up that way. If we could learn to bring the discipline from home, every one of us would behave very well. There are places you see parents, you give a child or you give someone suspension in the office, the guy is calling, somebody is calling someone, telling someone, why would you do this to my son? And I begin to wonder, what kind of family would these people go back to? What kind of people would this represent tomorrow? Because if you check everything in our system, I'm sorry to say because we're on live TV, because imagine someone who all of a sudden, because your father knows someone, you have a job.
We going there.
Well,
Are we
something
going there?
happened recently, all
I don't
right,
want- I don't
during
want
this
us to go
examination, West African examination, in one of the northern states, I can't really remember the exact state, but students like, is it about 4 students were actually stopped or suspended from writing some certain papers. Why? What was their crime? They cooked inside the hostel. And it's a crime. So for them to serve as deterrent to others, they had to suspend them. And then some will tell you that this is wickedness. For crying out loud, they are writing the examination and it's like their final exam. Why do you have to go that
Far.
It's an extreme measure. That's using a permanent solution against a temporary issue. Now, you deny them an examination that would affect their life if not corrected. You've not corrected them. There are other punishments you could have given to them. Just like I heard about one school when a boy misbehaved in his SS3 and he was suspended. And I told them that was a wrong measure. You couldn't have suspended a child you're trying to correct in SS3. Because that means you've told them to go and be useless in life. You can't just, psychologically, you would have destroyed the future of whoever you have done that to. There are other measures you could correct. You don't use permanent punishment over temporary issues. It's a wrong measure.
Well, some will tell you that, maybe it's just an extra year. For them.
No.
That's still a lot.
That's a permanent measure.
Extra year is demoralizing to a child.
You don't use a
makes
permanent
you be
measure.
ahead of you.
No, you don't use
Years
a
will be
permanent measure
ahead
to
of you.
correct a temporary issue.
Yeah.
It's not right.
It's extreme. It's extreme, really. But then, we get this extreme problems of using an elephant gun to kill an ant, because even those in charge are no longer well trained in how to be in charge.
Exactly.
People are not trained in how to be in charge of situations. You just don't pick anybody to be an administrator. You don't pick anybody to be a leader. You don't pick anybody to be a school principal. There are people that have got the aptitudes for that. So we are having the problem of putting round pegs in square holes.
Yes. It's what Zainab said. You look at people now in some schools. Some teachers get friendly to some pupils that their parents are wealthy, whereas those whose parents are not known to be very wealthy are treated somehow. Meanwhile, these two children are paying the same fee. It is wrong. By that time, you started putting up injustice, and that injustice will lead to, before you know it, hatred, misunderstanding, indiscipline, problem, and there will be coordination again. Now, when you want to treat people, close your eyes. If the law says do not drink this, it doesn't matter if it's your own son that's drinking it.
Just don't drink.
Administer such punishment that is meant for the person that you said do not drink. You understand? But when your friend's son does something, and because it's your friend's son, you try to find a way to allow him go free, and someone's son come and you punish that person, you see, you've created a problem. And that's what is actually happening in our country today.
I think it's the Africanness in us. What I mean by Africanness, there's this thing, I don't know how to say it. They say it in Hausa, Sanaya Iran is us. Sometimes you...
My people.
Yeah, there's this one. My father had a particular position in the country, and there's somebody who worked in the organization where he was at and misbehaved and was supposed to lose his job. And so the person's parent now met another person who knows my father to come and beg. And that person didn't want to, because he knows my father, how he is. So when he came, the person that came to beg was telling my mother, Nima, I don't want to beg. But if I don't beg, they will say that because it's not my son. So I'm just coming to fulfill all righteousness. So like what you said the other time about the police, all the way to, when we have a disconnect in our system of discipline, why would the person at the bottom of the ladder start enforcing discipline? Why would I arrest you and book you in when I know the DPO or the judge will let you go? It's like, as they say in parlance, they're giving me issue. I will lose face, You actually see somebody say, do what you will, Shebi, we will talk, just do.
Yes.
Just do what will come out of it. So it actually removes the motivation.
So the question I have now is, are we condemned? Have we given up? Is there any hope? Is there a way forward? Because from the beginning of the show, all I have heard is us pointing out
examples of indiscipline.
Yes, we have a
I know, but
problem.
when you finish asking that question, please, can you start giving us the hope?
No, I mean, Mr. Chooks and Madam, you both of you have been very vocal about this thing. It's painful, but I want to wake up to a Nigeria tomorrow where if you are booked for a ticket, you actually go and pay for it. If you are using your phone, you actually go for a psychological evaluation according to road safety. But how do we... I said, where do we start from? Do we tackle the judiciary?
You start from
Do we tackle the government?
You start from the root. Parents have to be disciplined and impart discipline to their children.
What about if the parents are indisciplined?
Okay, let me explain
That's
something.
a question in my head too.
Whenever
It's a vicious circle.
no matter how I'm driving, no matter how I want to beat the traffic, whenever my children are in the car, I will not beat the traffic.
Because they'll pick it up. Daddy beats the traffic too, so they can beat the traffic.
Because you know why? I learned that whatever I do, they do.
Yes.
I don't sleep early, and it has affected my children. They don't sleep early. Indirectly, do you know what my son will always say? I will have to wait for daddy to come back so that I can tell him good night, and he has always used that as an excuse.
To be awake.
To be awake, to play his game, to do any other thing. Once I come in, 30 minutes, he will have to go and sleep, because after work I do other things that could keep me late. So now what he does is whenever you attempt to beat the traffic, he'll tell you, remember the police. One day we were at the traffic and somebody just passed. He said, where is the police? The police should have arrested that man. He has beat the traffic. I was happy. Why am I happy? I'm training up someone who understands that doing that is wrong.
But if I may cut, are you 100% comfortable with that? That he feels you should not jump the traffic light because there's a chance the police will catch you?
He should not jump it.
It's wrong. Yeah, he knows it's wrong. He said it's wrong for people to jump the traffic.
Okay.
I stop at traffic lights even when there's absolutely nobody.
Do you know? Just I was on the traffic when there was nobody. I was asking myself, what is it? I just thought to myself, what's the problem?
To be honest, this statement you just made now, the reason why I don't stop at night,
No, at night
is
it's not
because
good.
Nigeria is not safe.
Yes.
I'm not even
No,
going
when
to.
it's late, it goes yellow.
But no.
Now you're talking
at
about-
night, there are times that it will show red, it will show green, but I don't stop because one, I can't secure myself. At that traffic light, you are a target. All right, anybody, any hooligan can come up from anywhere and attack you. At that point, it's be a very stupid thing for you to stop.
When it is
When it
risky,
is-
lonely,
When
I
it
think
is
so.
lonely. So I move, and I dare any security person to now say, "Madam, it be traffic light," because guess what? They won't even be there.
They even catch you.
See your choice
Okay.
of words. I have.
I said there because
I dare
said there because I know that they
any
won't. I said there, and then I said they won't be there. You won't
Okay,
see
okay.
them. So the question is, if I am sure that there will be security ahead of me, I will wait because
Of safety.
no hooligan will be around there.
Now, it's
knowing that there is
a chain
security.
reaction. Suleiman, it's a chain reaction. She did that because she felt that there is something that ought to have been there that was
That's
not there.
Exactly.
So the society
So
has failed.
that's
the
the
society
failure
has
of the
caused
yes,
that
indiscipline.
Yes,
You understand?
I get that. I get that.
That's a failure
In the
of
system.
security that has pushed her into a kind of fear that made her disobey the law. You understand? But that does not guarantee the fact that what you're doing is right. But all of us are guilty as charged. Because I have heard severally where people were attacked on why they are
Intersections.
yes, and they're waiting for light, and all of a sudden, go out. Somebody hits their car, picks something from them, somebody puts them out and runs. That's where there is no adequate security. So, what you should do is to be conscious of what you are facing, the environment where you are. It's also wrong, also in one way, because what if you're going there and another car is coming, and you have a kind of pollution? So you have to be careful while doing that.
Yeah,
but
I know.
much as we've said several, the best thing to do is to go back from the route. And what is going back from the route, like Zainab said? Let's start a system where your son has written an exam and he scored 190. And because 190 couldn't give him admission, you now begin to use money, use connection to get him into admission. Get him into the university rather. And you begin to try to get him to find, when he realizes that my daddy got me this admission, he begins to believe that everything is possible through the power of money. So he begins to jump the process. When he's back from school, he begins to think of how to get a job without passing through the process. That's what we are saying, get it home. When you have a house help, do not allow your house help to be insulted by the child you are raising, because the fact that you have a house help who is in the house, who could not afford to be in their own house because of whatever their position is, does not mean that your 2-year-old son or 2-year-old daughter would also rubbish them. Go and fetch me water, when you know that it is wrong for that child to go and tell an adult to go and fetch me water. You understand what I'm saying? So it is absolutely wrong. Something happened today. My son called me and said he couldn't open his food because he's doing part-time job in his mother's office. So I told him, okay, call your supervisor to help you. He said, I've called him to come. He said I should bring it. I said, before I could open my eyes, you're taking it there.
Oh, it's the man that will come and
I told him, if I could open my eyes, you're taking it there. You understand? He already knows that this is daddy. I said, come on, take it to him. He said, I'm studying because they're doing homeschooling.
Yeah.
And he's doing his mom's. I said, whether you're doing homeschooling, if you want to eat your food, finish your homeschooling, take that food to him and appeal to him to help you do it. But if you don't want to beg him to do it,
That's
you stay
fine.
hungry.
Okay, now I'm not saying we should go back to 1885 or thereabout, but there was a time in our society whereby if a child does something wrong outside, somebody outside is free to actually discipline that
That was
child.
how we grew up.
You understand? And even if that's him, in fact, the child will be afraid of reporting himself at home because of the fact that his parent will certainly add value to what has been done to him outside by beating him further.
I
But
think our
these days-
generation. I think our generation was the cause of what you're going to say. Nowadays, it doesn't happen
It
anymore.
doesn't.
Our generation was the last to receive that kind of treatment, and we were very resentful about it. As I said in an earlier program, like me, it shaped me. You can't come and tell me that my child did something wrong, and I'll automatically believe you. But I'm still polite enough, to not to come out and openly show you. I disbelieve you. I will follow you and complain. I'll apologize, or I will call the child but I will later find out from the child. But most of us are resentful of the fact that our parents were so pleased with strangers to beat shake your come for our body and all will be well. So a lot of us made the conscious efforts to not allow our children suffer that
To go
kind of
through that
and then
process.
and that is when things started going. We are the last generation to listen to our parents and the first that are listening to our children. We are the sufferhead generation. We did not enjoy as children from our parents. We are not enjoying our
as
children
parents,
because we are still slaving for them.
You're right.
Something Titi said earlier, she said, when I said it should be from the root, she said, even parents now are not disciplined. If we will be fair, do you know a lot of people don't know that what they are doing is actually considered indiscipline?
Of course.
So people don't even know what it is.
And I liked the fact that you pointed out examples because
Yes,
some people
because
would
you
not
have to do that.
know.
Yes, some people might just be picking that up. When you talked about school and exams, a similar thing. 3-4 years ago, I was in Kano. I went to visit some people, and the daughter came and she was talking to her mother that, how far have you told my father my request, that she wanted them to change her school. She was in second term of SS3. I was said, this lady, no, she wants to write WAEC, and our school is so principled, they don't allow cheating, but that other school, it's well known, that's how they even advertise that guaranteed 6 A's minimum, whatever, because you're allowed to cheat and everything. So she wants her father to transfer her to that school. And I was wondering what guts she had to even face her parents with this request. If it's me, that's the end of my schooling in my house. That's the end of my schooling.
That is because society is already
yes,
at that threshold of acceptability of such
and the mother,
discipline.
because now all we said that you must go to school, you must go to university. So I was saying my prayers when they were having that discussion, and the mother was telling me that no, that this is what the girl said, well, because they need her to pass and everything. And I'm like, you're willing to entertain that? She was like, well, if we don't do that, she won't go to, and you know these children, she wants to pass. And I'm like,
But do they know the danger of that? When she goes on to the university, she'll do the same thing.
No, I had to break it down to pieces. I'm like, do you know this girl? There's post-UME waiting for her. Do you know where she can go? Nowadays, jobs, you write aptitude tests. How did I? She was like, And I was like,
No, these kind of parents are the ones that would, once she, okay,